about these sticky mats. I know a lot of people are complaining they're super sticky, and yes they are, but I'm going to show you how to get your paper off of it beautifully without bending it all to high heaven. Now for this particular card, I did use an SVG, but before you run off on me, you can use any die for any road that you like. I'm just going to show you how to use this SVG, which I will include for you for free. Okay, you can use the SVG in whatever you want, but here is where I have a rectangle, the actual size of the front of my card. And this is how my road SVG imported. You can size it if you want. Now this piece here is just a shape. You can use any old shape you want, but if you're using the same car as I am for your card, I made this shape 2.5 by 2.5. And I did that there by unlocking it and typing in 2.5 on each side, because that there resembled my car. So it was going to give me an idea on whether or not I needed to resize my road. And I'm thinking that my road looks pretty good. Now I'm going to bring in this square because I don't need that whole road to cut and waste paper. So I'm going to use this square, highlight the square and the road only, and I'm going to slice, because you can slice any two pieces. So I'm going to pull all those away and delete them. Now I have the perfect size road for my card. As I said, I don't have an SVG, or excuse me, I don't have a die, so I'm going to use this SVG. Now here, I want the little dots or lines on the road, if you will, to be white. So I'm just going to go through and just kind of cut really rough behind there so I have a white piece of paper. And it left me that white, and I thought, hey, there's the beginning of one of my little hills. And I have dies for these, but I'm far too lazy to pull them out. So I'm just going to cut these by hand. If you struggle cutting these by hand, use whatever you have to cut your little hills. Now we're going to do some fun blending. And I've got all of the supplies that I use linked down below there for you, but I did use speckled egg, black soot, and the brand new Uncharted Mariner, and my fingers had ink on them, so of course I had to transfer it to where I want white, but that sand eraser kind of saved the day there for me. So here I'm using my favorite blenders to get down the bulk of the color, because these tend to hold a lot of color, right? I will link these for you because they are super inexpensive on Amazon. You can find some of the companies are carrying them now, but they are a little more expensive. I'll link Simon Says Stamp for you guys, because they have just one. So if you want to try just one to see if you like it, you can get it there. Or if you want to go for the full set, I'll also have that linked for you. Now I did pull out my little finger blenders, and these ones here are synthetic little hairs. They're not foam, and I am obsessed with them. And I need a little bit more precision just to kind of get that blend in between the speckled egg and the Uncharted Mariner, because they are such a vast difference. But I wanted that nice light in the middle of my sky, and then to kind of transition darker. So the black soot, just got that in around the edges there, and I'm going to go back and forth and blend it out with the smaller little blenders there with all three of those colors. And given some time, you'll be able to get this no problem. I do like to use the waffle flower mat because it cleans up great. And as you can see, my paper doesn't really slide along around on that for me. So here I'm just kind of lining everything up to see, do I like this? Do I like where I have it? And I added a little bit more to go lower just in case I wanted to move my snow hills lower, which I did. Now here is my infamous inky splatters, of course the white and the gold or the champagne, excuse me. Here is my distress resist, and this is my DIY distress resist with some shimmer in it. I'll link that video for you down below. It's an awesome DIY if you don't have the regular distress resist, but I do have it, so I got to use it up, right? It'll take me forever. And here I've got my rock candy and my glitter, all my Tim Holtz fun stuff that adds amazing glitter. And I showed you there how to save that, because I'm going to talk about that again later. But here I want to talk about these sticky mats. I know a lot of people are complaining they're super sticky, and yes they are, but I'm going to show you how to get your paper off of it beautifully without bending it all to high heaven. And I've also got something else that I just found. I'm so excited to show you these. I'm going to link them for you. These aren't even wet anymore. They're so, I don't even know how to explain it. These little spongy things, Picket Fence, I believe, is the creator. Hold on here. Bend your little sticky thing there like you would a Cricut mat. Bend it and it all comes off without bending your paper. So I'm going to do some die cutting here, but back to those little, the green little scrubby. I absolutely love them. I wet them in the beginning and I keep them there in my little case with my other chamois and whatnot. And they've dried out, but they're amazing. You have to try them. Now here, I tried doing some Pearl-Ex on there because I thought I wanted like a nice pearly white car to resemble my new car, but that wasn't happening. So I switched it up for a shimmery blue that came in some card kit I got at some point. So you do you and you pick whatever you like, but I did switch it. So here I'm just trying to balance everything and I can see that my little hills are going to be too high. So I got out that super technical tool and I used my pencil to kind of mark those and cut them. Now here, don't do this. Don't put your lights on yet because I'm going to take them off later, okay? Because I'm going to show you the mistake I made and it didn't even occur to me until it happened. So I'm getting ready to put everything together and this little piece that sits on the front of the car, I just wanted a little texture and this is just some random Dorice embossing folder. You use whatever you like or don't use anything, but see there, it just kind of added that little bit of, I don't know, it kind of felt like it felt like it was suiting here in the card. And that there paper is the Simon Says Stamp Glossy Black. I absolutely love it. I do have to get more of it, trying to use it sparingly. But here I'm going to start getting everything stationary on my card so I can start figuring out how I'm going to get all of my lights in here. And that I cut with scissors. It just was a little easier. Getting my road on there too. And I got a little glue on the front of my road here in a second. I'm going to use that little adhesive eraser to try to get that off. I do wipe off all the glue as well with a baby wipe before I bring the scissors in. And I do wipe off my scissors as well because there's nothing worse than pulling out your scissors and they're all sticky, right? So if you kind of take these few extra steps while you're creating, then you may save yourself a little bit of headache later. So you'll see me here clean up my scissors. Don't like sticky scissors. Those are my big girl scissors, by the way. I'm just obsessed with those. I can't link them for you. They're from Michaels. But here, magic. I will link if I can. I bought some random My Favorite Things die set that I don't have the stamps for, but I wanted these trees because it was so cheap. I think it was like $3 or $4. So here I'm just using that Zig glue pen and I'm just kind of doing a pouncing motion. Going to add in those same glitters I did on the card front with the rock candy because I just want a little bit of snow shimmery glitter there on my trees that I'm just going to randomly position on the card. And I'm not going to go through all of that. I edited that out as I did all the coloring because I'm guessing that you're kind of after how to make this a light up card. So I'm just showing you a little bit of my process and hopefully you'll grab a few tips and tricks along the way. So I've got those done there. And like I said, I'm going to position those afterward. But now, because I've got that glue pen out and I've got all of that little mixture mixed together, I'm going to start creating where I want some snow. I did this on the actual front of the car as well, but I cut that out, okay? So you figure out on your car, like over top of the headlight, on the bumper, maybe a little on the dashboard. So here, I'm going to pull back out that little tiny container that I was using when I was splattering. I'm going to dump it all in there. And I have another one of these somewhere, I just couldn't find it, but I save them because I usually use these together. So don't waste it. Find a little container to put them in. The dollar store has tons of them. So if you look close, especially at the end when you see the picture, you'll see the little snow I've got on the car. Now here, I was gonna glue it and then I was like, no, no, no. Backspace, delete, delete. I'm gonna use some dimensionals. So I got out my dimensionals and I need to position the car and I took the lights off. You can see them there at the top of the screen because I don't have the holes in my card for the lights. So that was kind of a little hindsight there. I thought, oops, I've got to take these off, which was great. I used that Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue and they just came right off because it's so temporary for quite some time, right? Repositionable. So here I put on my Spellbinders tool just to get that hole started. And I was like, I wasn't really happy with the size of the hole. So just use whatever pokey, stabby, sticky tool that you have to start your hole. And then some other pokey tool. And that's just a pair of little clip clamps, surgical clippy clamps. And there I've got my holes. So now we're going to do our light up. Now I'm going to link all of this for you down below. I'll also link another video I did with this same materials and everything. And here I'm going to freeze this so that you can pause and come back if you need, but maybe draw this out on a piece of paper. I suggest making one of these and keeping it always, so you always have it to refer back to. So here, there's a positive and a negative side to these little diodes. The positive is the long side. The negative is the short side. So think of it as it's negative to be short and positive to be tall. I don't know. Some little riddle in your mind to remember. I'm short, so I always think that's a negative thing, because if God had just granted me a few more inches, I would have spaced out a little better in the middle, right? Nevertheless, whatever you need to remember. So here, I'm actually going to put this on wrong because I had thought about showing you guys there that template I had, and I was freezing it and thinking about what I was going to do, and I just kind of replicated my template, not thinking that I actually need my little depressor, my pressy part on the other side. So ignore this here for now because I am going to change it later, but I left it in because I don't hide my mistakes from you guys. Stuff happens, right? No big deal. But I'm actually going to flip this back over and go back to that in a minute. Now here, I don't know, I am going to play with this little guy so much. Now he's the back of the actual little doggy that's going to go in the car. But I thought, wouldn't it look cute if he was like, hanging onto the front of the car? I'm coming too. Don't leave me behind. And then I thought, maybe it looks like they smucked him on the road, and now he's like, he's kind of like smooshed on the front of the, and then I thought, yeah, no, that's not going to work either, Cindy Lynn. I don't know. Let me know what you think, because I was just kind of messing with this and I could not figure out where I wanted him, if I wanted him. I ended up not using him at all, but let me know what you think in the comments below, what you think about him on the front of the car like that, because I just, look at me. I'm grasping at straws now, but nevertheless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, that little push there, use whatever you want. I just put it where I wanted it, and then I put a little hole. So on the back, I could see that hole, and make it tiny so that you have room to kind of wiggle room to move around your little push depressing thing on the front. I'll try to link the actual stamps where I got the word push. They're interactive labels. I'll see if they're still available. But as you can see here, I'm going around the other side, and it doesn't matter if you have one long piece or you cut multiple pieces, as long as they connect, okay? They don't have to, like here, I'm going to fold it and go up. You don't have to do that. You can cut it off and then start a whole nother piece. I'm just lazy, so I just try to fold it and then smoosh it down, okay? So what we're doing here is we're making two roadways, if you will. One for the positive circuit and one for the negative circuit. And I am going to draw on here and show you which is which. Now, my positive side will go on the positive side, and the negative side will go on the negative side for the diodes. Okay, so I'm just looking at how they pop through there. I'm going to tape them down with Scotch tape, totally fine. And there's no electricity here. Don't worry about getting a shock, or, like when you get static, that kind of thing. Nothing's going to shock you. Everything's totally fine, totally safe. And there you can see the positive side and the negative side. And like, again, I'm just taping those down with Scotch tape, and just to keep them in place. You know what I mean? That's the best way I could figure to do it. You could also run your dimensional, like you're going to see me, I'm going to make this kind of all lifted up with the dimensionals. You could put those there as well, just to give it extra dimensional support. But here, this little battery, I'm going to put 2 pieces of glue down, because eventually they're going to dry and really hold it in place for the long term. and I'm going to add a piece of tape for extra support, if you will. But I only want the tape where this little gold copper tape isn't going to touch to make the connection, that tape there. So that little white piece, just a scrap, I'm going to put that copper tape on there, and I just want one side fully covered so that it reaches the positive road and it reaches where the battery is exposed, okay? So that whole piece is solid underneath, and it goes from the positive side right the way to where the battery is exposed. This here is just added protection, a little barrier around where the depressor is, so that when the card is all put together, that little depressor piece that we just put on with the little piece of gold, copper tape, doesn't always get connected, if you will. So I put that little barrier around there, especially like for mailing or whatnot. Now here I'm going to show you how I create these smaller strips. I just start at the top and I just kind of like inch my way down, putting that together so that I've got double. I find this to be a little bit thin for what I'm looking for right now. And extra pieces, I just store them like I showed you right there on the side, right? I do like to use my Tim Holtz rubber cutting scissors. These are specifically made to cut rubber, but I find that when I cut sticky stuff with them, especially this kind of thing, it doesn't stick to them. So there again, you can see the little barrier I built around the little depressor tab. And now all I'm going to do is apply this that I just made, that I folded in half, all the way around the entire outside of the back of the card. Okay, now this is my mat, but I'm going to show you a trick how I get this straight every time. So the mat is down. I'm laying this all down and I'm just double checking that I have enough of a barrier so that that little white piece is not always touching the battery. Now here, this is my little secret. Pull these down so that they're exposed, okay, at the bottom. You don't want to pull everything all off at once. Flip this little side just a teeny bit, enough to grab it. I'm going to stick this extra piece in there because I don't want anything sticking. I'm not removing any of the tape around the little depressor thing. I'm sorry, my head always gets in the way here. It's constantly in the way, so I'm trying to cut as much as I can out. But here, I found my sweet spot. I'm there, I'm even. I double checked my depressor. Now I can just pull all those little tabs out and I'm done. And again, I didn't need to remove all of the release paper from where that little area around the depressor, okay? So you can totally leave that there. So here, I'm just tidying up a little bit and I get on this little dog again and I'm like, oh, I colored him and I just didn't want to leave him behind, and then I thought, to heck with it. Now here, if you want me to do a video on how I do this, let me know. I'm just showing you really, really quick. I print on a piece of paper and then I use temporary adhesive for my cardstock, put the temporary adhesive on the cardstock, put that on the paper, run it back through the printer, and then voila, I've got it on my cardstock, okay? Now here, I'm going to bring out my T-square because I want the sentiment in the middle of the inside of my card, and I've already printed it on my paper. I printed it once and it was too small, so I printed it again. So there you go. That's basically how I do that. I can do a video if you want. Leave me a comment. If enough people ask for it, then I will consider doing a dedicated video for that. But that temporary adhesive just rubs right off with your fingers. It doesn't, I've never had a problem, by the way, with any of my printers. I've used the Canon Pixma, I have an Epson 8500, I've used an HP, so I've used multiple printers, and I only ever run 80 pound through there. I don't run the big thick cardstock through there, so it's just a trick I use to get the sentiment that I want. And I got to print it with a black background and white writing, which I love, and I didn't have to do the embossing, right? I didn't have the sentiment anyway. But the little crabs, I just couldn't get it out of my head when I saw them to do this, don't be crabby, you will be home for Christmas, with all the little crabs in there. So as you saw there, I just pulled out a marker to color in the white areas. And if you don't trim it perfectly, you can also hide that with your marker too, right? So a little dimensional on there, and I've got my sentiment, and I've got my little push button, and don't be crabby, we'll be home for Christmas. I'm hoping you loved this card, and leave me a comment, let me know what you thought, and until I see you again, take care and happy stamping!